Are you with me? Are you with me, sir? That's fabulous news. Okay, so to move on from this then, I've got some, how do I use it? Oh, yeah, let's go to that one. Oh, yeah, yes, good, yes. So what we've got is this idea that motivation is part of a formula for performance. Now, here's something extra to tell you about this. You see, motivation in sales speak is a feature. I can't sell motivation. It's bizarre. Everyone wants it, but actually nobody wants to buy it. Companies don't want to buy motivation. Yeah, they want motivation. They're paying their staff to be motivated, but they don't want to buy motivation. What they want to buy, it's like we don't want to buy airbags, do we, in a car? What we want to buy is the airbags are there because the benefit of the airbags is safety. So Volvo in the 80s and 90s made a big thing of selling cars on the back end of, you get your flash car somewhere else, but if you want a safe car, Volvo have got these airbags, they've got this iron bar, they've got this, that, it's a safe car. So people want to buy, so what's the benefit of motivation? And there are two sets of benefits. One is personal benefit, and one is company benefit. So the benefits of motivation on a personal level are 1, energy, which leads to 2, enthusiasm, which leads to 3, so we've got the energy, raw energy. The enthusiasm means we really like, we're happy at what we're doing, we really leads to engagement. We become committed to something. So when we've got this energy is driving, actually, it's a major driver of engagement. To have engagement without the motivation is really, it's like having a sandwich without a sort of filling. It's just, what is it? It's actually, it's the central thing that's driving engagement. If we look at the company point of view, what is it doing? Motivation is driving, what's the benefit? Performance. And performance leads to Chris's favourite word, productivity. And productivity, if the strategy is correct, of course, if you've got the wrong strategy for your business, then no amount of motivation is going to help you. I'm not going to pretend it will. If you're swimming across the lane in the Olympics, then you're not going to get a gold medal. You've got to go down the lanes. But if you've got the correct strategy and you've got productivity with your staff, you're going to get profitability. So it's 3 Ps, performance, productivity, leading to profitability if we have the correct strategy. So from your perspective now, what I want you to think about is your performance and also to think about your team's performance because motivation is a core part of it. And when we look at these 3 components, it gets even simpler. Because the direction, which is the vision, the strategy, the business plan, all of that, that largely comes at senior level. It's not something that, you feed up, you give your ideas, etc., but it's not something you need usually directly to worry about. What you have to worry about, what concerns you, are these 2 areas, the skills and knowledge, and the motivation. And most training focuses really pretty exclusively on skills and knowledge. The very fact that you're dealing with engagement now and motivation now is unusual. It's not what most typical companies do. Most companies are doing what they've always done for the last 20 years. So this is actually where people are. So here's my first little test for you. I'd like you to do this for me if you wouldn't mind, if you've got a pen and paper to hand. It's this. And you don't have to share it with anybody. It's entirely private to you. It's just for you to think about. But you might want to think about this in connection with your team members when you actually do this. And you might want to triangulate it with somebody else that you trust in your team branch to say, what do you think of Joe or Sam or somebody else? What's your score for this? Out of 10, taking yourself as the first example, how would you rate your own skills and knowledge in your current role out of 10? 10 being, I'm fantastic, I know all there is to know about it, and 1 being, I started yesterday, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. How would you rate yourself? Give yourself a score out of 10. Some nervous looks about the face. Nobody's looking at your paper, it's just entirely private to you. And when you've done that, and you'll get a chance to check this number in a minute actually, give yourself a score for your motivation out of 10. How motivated do you feel over the last 3 months out of 10? Give yourself a score for that. And then when you've done it, what are you going to do? No, but that's a good answer. You're going to multiply them. Because then you've got a percentage. Give yourself a percentage. And now I'll tell you a couple of things. Firstly, when you do this, 6 is the average. The average person in an average company will say, I'm 6 out of 10 skill, I'm 6 out of 10 motivated, which gives you, if you look at it like this, 6 times 6 gives you, as a performance figure, 36%. Is that good? It's awful. It's apt to be average. Average times average means you're actually totally underperforming. What we want are people to be 80% plus to be in the zone. If you're 80% plus, that's 9 times 9, you are seriously kicking butt. If you are 60 to 80, you're doing a great job. Great. But there are things we could do to improve that. If you're 35 to 60, then your performance is beginning to slip away. And by the way, and below 35, of course, that's bad. But by the way, you've done this to yourself. You've self-assessed. And if you're not in a state of fear, which you're not at the moment, you're all relaxed, nobody else is going to see this, it tends to be very accurate. Self-assessment, when there's no fear factor, tends to be pretty accurate. If anything, you'll be hard on yourself. You'll tend to mark yourself down. So when you look at that, the question to ask yourself is this: which of those two scores is lowest? Because the lowest score is the one you need to focus on in order to improve your performance. Is it skills and knowledge that need boosting, or is it motivation? Now, if it's skills and knowledge, we've touched on that today with what Deborah's been talking about, but what I'm going to be focusing on is your motivation. But nevertheless, both of them are critically important for your overall performance. And on the topic of motivation, even if you scored yourself 10 out of 10 for that, even if you had, here's the surprise factor. Motivation is like your health, it's like your energy, it's like your fitness. Nobody would say, I've just run a marathon once, I never need exercise again in my life. And by the way, it's like your relationships too. You don't say to your wife or your partner or your husband, I love you, I told you when I married you, or when we met up, I've told you once, I don't need to tell you again, because people need it to be continually told to them. You need to continually exercise. You need to continually do healthy things to keep your energy up. So too with motivation. If you just let your motivation drift, it will drift down. On day one, when you join a new company, you tend to be 100% motivated. Why is it then, 2 years later, you're 50% motivated? Because you've allowed the drift, the management's allowed the drift to occur. So we need interventions in management in order to actually sustain it. And why do we want to sustain it? Because it feels good. Because it helps our performance. Because it makes us look good. Because we're working at a different level. Because actually sales are going to increase if we actually have got high levels of energy. As a matter of fact, they will. And it's not just the sales force. It's actually, when you go into a company, you meet lots of people. You meet people at the desk. I actually had a car dealership I worked with about 10 years ago. That was actually before I did Motivational Maths, which is 9 years old. But 10 years ago, I went into this car dealership in Wiltshire. And the MD said to me, James, he said, I've got this member of staff. She's so good. She's so loyal. She never has a day's sickness. She comes in even when she's ill. She does this. She does that. She's invaluable. But the trouble is, she says, she never smiles. I says, well, OK, what's her role? Well, it's not that important. She's just at reception. She's just the first person you meet going into the building, and she never smiles. She's always looking like she's poison. Everybody is in sales, aren't they? Everybody is selling or putting you off buying.